Hey, I'm loving the fact that I get to wake up every day and uncover a new conspiracy theory that just makes my brain go, you know what? I didn't even think about that. I didn't even see that. And now I can never go back. You know what I mean? I call me crazy. I love it. I enjoy it. So this video here is the 10 strangest conspiracy theories ever that will creep you out. Let's see.
There is much that we don't know about the hidden worlds of our leading celebrities. Rumors, secrets, and conspiracies abound, forming haunting conclusions about the lives of famous societal idols. Number 10. Jayne Mansfield's story begins in 1933 in Pennsylvania, a time when she was born to the name Vera Jane Palmer. In her late teenage years, she married Paul Mansfield, and by the time she turned 21, they were living in Hollywood with their child. Jayne, despite her talent and good looks, struggled to find opportunities in the district where everyone seemed to rise to fame. Luckily for her, she would later find herself being one of the first ever Playboy bunnies, and she certainly exploited her advantages. In 1955, Jayne's career would see an exciting change. It was this year that she received a reward within her Playboy career, throwing her into the view of the nation's leading directors. It didn't take long for the now aspiring actress to learn violin, piano, and 5 additional languages with a claimed IQ of 163. Jayne played the role of Rita Marlowe, the fictional actress in Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter, which was later adapted into a film. Unfortunately, her film career would be short-lived. On the 28th of June, 1967, she was in Biloxi, Mississippi. She was due to travel from there to New Orleans for a television engagement. 3 of her children traveled with her in a 1966 Buick Electra, with a man named Ronald Harrison at the wheel. The vehicle rammed into a cargo truck as it traveled a dark road obstructed by a white fog of pesticides sprayed by a city vehicle. While the children survived, Jayne, Ronald, and her then boyfriend, a married lawyer named Sam Brody, were declared deceased at the scene. It was this unfortunate accident that sparked the various conspiracies that followed. Some suggest that she was a Satanist and that the Church of Satan, controlled by Anton LaVey, may have had something to do with this tragic accident. There's no doubt that Jayne was connected to the church that she visited in 1966. It was there that she was named the High Priestess of San Francisco's Church of Satan. The conspiracy that she was a Satanist, though, was all due to a misconception as to what the church really is. Anton LaVey actually didn't believe in Satan and merely used it in the title for attention. Instead, he believed in an inflammatory figure who espoused individualism. The connection between the two after the meeting, though, would become a media sensation throughout the 60s, leading many to suggest that she was a practicing Satanist. The story was known to filmmaker Todd Hughes and served as the start of the Mansfield 66 and 67 documentary, co-directed by P. David Ebersole. In the documentary, the last 2 years of Jayne's life are placed under examination as they try to draw parallels between the fatal car accident and what transpired beforehand. Despite discovering that Jayne and Anton were just friends and their connection may have been a publicity stunt, Carla, Anton's daughter, later confirmed that the two were secretly dating. But it's one crucial detail of Jayne Mansfield's life that leads theorists to believe that the fatal car accident was no accident at all and was planned by the Church of Satan, or a different organization. The detail was that between 1966 and 1967, she and Sam Brody had been involved in 7 car crashes, surviving each time until the 8th one finally ended both of their lives. The incident not only cast speculation on the church and the curse that Anton LaVey supposedly placed on Brody, but also threw in a very persistent rumor that Jayne was decollated, ensuring that she remained deceased this time around. This, of course, was disproven later on despite its persistence. The mystery surrounding the fatal accident and the conspiracies connected to it still endure today, with the Church of Satan at the center of it all.
See, this is why I'm real particular about who I align myself with, who I stand beside, who I'm friends with. You know, you heard your parents tell you all the time about your friends and who you hang around. And we didn't really care when we were younger. But when you get into your career and you start talking legacy and different things like that, it's unfortunate, absolutely unfortunate that it has to be like this, but it is what it is. And who you align yourself with can affect that, bro. And I see that now more than I ever did. I guess the older you get, the maturity and everything, it's like, bro, you can stand by somebody and that one person can negate every good thing you've done and have a negative effect on your career or your legacy. That's scary to me.
Number 9. Miley Cyrus was born in Franklin, Tennessee in 1992. She catapulted to stardom with her appearance as Hannah Montana in the hit television series of the same name. She rose from teen star to pop music solo artist with her 2008 album Breakout. Miley was born to country singer Billy Ray Cyrus and Tish Cyrus. The father and daughter did some performances together, and she even acted in a few of his movies, despite Billy's reluctance to have his young daughter follow in his footsteps. Throughout her extensive music career, Miley has seen fluctuations in the music genre, style, and persona, which has given rise to a common idea among conspiracy theorists. The young singer's career started with an innocent outlook and country-inspired undertones. This demure way of performance, though, took a sudden change with the release of her 2009 song Can't Be Tamed, and then 2013's release of Wrecking Ball. There was an obvious difference in her performance style and appearance in these releases, and some of the songs to come after. Miley took on a rebellious appearance with her shortened hair and outlandish onstage outfits. The alteration from demure to wild child, of course, was noted by Disney, the company that pushed her to stardom by casting her as Hannah Montana, an innocent teen star who served as inspiration to the youth who viewed her as their idol. Then, in recent years, there's been yet another persona switch. This time, Miley was almost back to her old self. She took on more of a country-like persona. At the 66th Grammy Awards, she even strolled out with a Dolly Parton-style hairdo. Her videos went from rebellious and rough to sophisticated and innocent once more, with songs like Flowers, Angels Like You, and Used to Be Young. This recent and sudden alteration forced conspiracy theorists to conclude that the Miley we see today is actually a clone. They suggested that Disney's poster girl upset the community so much with her rebellious persona that they ended her life and replaced her with a clone who would clean up the act. Some point out plausibility in the fact that she did use a body double at a few of her concerts, adding that it would be entirely possible to find a stand-in for her in real life. Aside from the sudden shift in personality and performance, there isn't much evidence to support this conspiracy, but it's one that drowned out the former Miley is a reptilian shapeshifter conspiracy. One bizarre YouTube video claimed that she was a reptilian hybrid, referring to a clip where she seems to be blinking sideways and where her pupils change shape. Miley Cyrus, of course, isn't the only celebrity affected by such conspiracies, since many believe that the Illuminati is running the entire industry.
Now, my theory when it comes to Miley, and I do believe some of these celebrities make deals with, you know what I mean, people that and kind of sell their souls. But my thing with Miley was we watched her grow up in front of us. You know what I mean? Just take your kids, for example, if you have kids. You know, they go through their ups and their downs, their terrible phases, their good phases, mature, not so mature, like what are you doing with your life, destruction of themselves. Like you only difference is we watched hers play out in the public eye. That's what the thing is with Miley Cyrus. You watched her go from innocent to good girl to bad girl to rebellious girl to back to mature. Like, you watched it play out. So that was always my theory with her.
Number 8. Paul Thomas Anderson is known for his engaging storytelling films. He's an American screenwriter and director, with his character-driven films Phantom Thread, Licorice Pizza, and Magnolia. He also directed A Prairie Home Companion, according to this conspiracy theory. A Prairie Home Companion is an American musical comedy that actually Robert Altman directed. Just like how the moon landing was fake, Paul McCartney was replaced by a clone, and Nicolas Cage is a vampire, Robert Altman didn't direct the film. Theorists point out that at the time that Altman was translating Garrison Keillor's story into a motion picture, he was at the ripe old age of 80. They believe that due to his age, the studio insisted on bringing in a backup director in case Altman kicked the bucket before the film was finished. That backup, of course, was Anderson. As the theory goes, Anderson ended up directing more than half of that 2006 film, while Altman barked orders into a microphone. The younger director would be the one to speak directly to the actors and actresses. An alternative to this theory was that he was merely on standby and tagged along with Altman, ready to take over if needed. This alternative was actually confirmed by Altman himself, stating that the backup never intruded or overrode him during the filming. Just 5 months after A Prairie Home Companion was released, Altman passed away, which theorists used as credence to support their idea, claiming that he must have been much too sick and weak to direct the movie. Some believe that he was suffering from leukemia at the time. While it's widely accepted that Anderson was brought in as a backup, many maintain that he actually directed the film on his own, without credit being awarded to the other director. The 80-year-old man denied this allegation prior to his passing, and maintained that he directed the entirety of the film without intrusion. But a small piece of evidence may rekindle this idea, and it came flowing from the grapevine quite recently. It's said that Martin Scorsese, the co-writer, director, and co-producer of the 2023 film starring Leonardo DiCaprio, wanted to rewrite the story from a different perspective. The rumor claims that Scorsese approached Anderson, asking him to do the rewrite. Apparently, he did just that and went uncredited. This, according to the theory, wasn't a favor on Anderson's behalf, but rather a business exchange. In return, he would have DiCaprio star in his next movie. That film came out in 2021, and the DiCaprio we were expecting wasn't in it, but his father George was. The rumor was spread through people in the film industry and fell on the ears of an editor for a high school newspaper, who decided to share his daring conspiracy theory on his blog. If the rumor of Anderson being a ghostwriter is true, then it could add some more plausibility to the conspiracy that he ghost-directed A Prairie Home Companion underneath Altman and gave him all the credit for it. Number 7. Jim Morrison was born in Florida and grew up to become a revered American singer and songwriter, the charismatic frontman of The Doors. In 1965, he joined the classical pianist Ray Manzarek, drummer Josh Densmore, and guitarist Robbie Krieger to form the favorite band of many across the world. Morrison was notorious for being a womanizer, who also had a bit of a temper. He spent almost his entire adult life with Pamela Courson, to whom he left everything to in his will. In 1971, following some rebellious acts on stage, he opted to leave The Doors and headed for Paris with Courson, where he would embark on a journey of poetry. It was also this year that the unsuspecting girlfriend returned to their Paris home, only to find Morrison deceased in the tub, with the cause being heart failure at the young age of 27. But speculations about the autopsy and the signature that appeared at the bottom of the forms abound. One theory surrounding the sudden and mysterious passing was popularized in the 1980s by a British journalist. The conspiracy stated that the passing had been orchestrated and committed by the United States Central Intelligence Agency. The apparent motive behind this ordeal was to expel an important figure from the burgeoning counterculture that had been in full force over the previous decades. A similar theory points to the French Secret Services, or some sort of Zionist plot. Morrison's place of passing has also been placed under speculation. It's widely accepted that he was discovered in his bathtub, yet some have eerily suggested that he actually met his end in a nightclub called Rock and Roll Circus. It was alleged that the manager of the club claimed that a couple of men had dragged the lifeless Morrison from the establishment and placed him in a taxi to be returned to his apartment. But there are other claims that Jim Morrison never really met his demise at all. Instead, he faked it all and started afresh, leaving his troubles behind him. Ray Manzarek believed that he had some supporting evidence for this conspiracy. He recalled conversations he had with the troubled vocalist in 1970. Ray wasn't alone either, and the conspiracy took social media by storm in 2016, with claims of a supposed doppelganger popping up. The doppelganger was a man in his 70s named William Lawyer, who was living in Oregon. Many believed this really was just Morrison's new persona, so that he could continue living in society, but with no one to bother him.
Yo, the history between the CIA and musicians, how far does it go back? It goes back pretty far, right? Why did they always deem musicians a threat? Is it because that they could go on stage and say what they want to the masses and sway them against the government? Is that what it was? But that just seems to me, the aha in me is just how far does the CIA versus musician, like how far does that go back? Interesting though.
Number 6. Sonny John Moore, known professionally as Skrillex, is a big-name American electro house producer from California. He served as the figurehead for the Screamo band from first to last. In 2007, he began his journey as a solo artist. This skateboard teen took on an emo-like appearance with parted hair, lip piercings, and dark clothing. Skrillex is noted as a DJ, musician, singer, songwriter, and record producer. He's won 8 Grammy Awards and was named MTV's Electronic Dance Music Artist of the Year. The only thing that he needed to complete his list of accomplishments was to be placed at the center of his very own strange conspiracy theory. Luckily, he was able to evade the reptilian rumors, Illuminati involvement, and vampire conspiracies. Instead, his theory centers around another celebrity. Corey Feldman is an American musician and actor known for his roles in Friday the 13th, Gremlins, The Goonies, The Lost Boys, and The Two Coreys, which is an ironic title for the series given this conspiracy. The idea posited by fans and theorists is that Skrillex and Feldman are either the same person or are closely related. The reason behind this odd yet somewhat plausible theory is the resemblance that these celebrities share. According to some theorists, they could be long-lost brothers despite their 17-year age gap. Side-by-side images certainly serve as a creepy piece of evidence. Aside from having different jawlines, Feldman and Skrillex share many other features that are similar to the point that they almost look identical. They have the same eyebrow shape, lip, nose, and laugh lines. Non-conspiracy theorist Twitter users have also spotted the similarities between the two, with tweets like, "Why does Skrillex look like an emo Corey Feldman?" and "Corey Feldman is what I imagine Skrillex's dad looks like." Adding a bit more plausibility to this idea was the question, has anyone seen Feldman and Skrillex in the same room before? This conspiracy theory even found itself on other platforms, including Reddit and a blog spot called Waveformless. One blogger explained that for quite some time he believed that Skrillex was just Feldman in a wig. Amazingly though, the blogger was able to find a picture of the two posing together. This picture laid the conspiracy to rest. Or did it? Many still maintain that Skrillex is Feldman's doppelganger, or that the DJ is the actor's secret love child. The idea even appeared on TMZ's YouTube channel in a video titled "Skrillex Looks Just Like Corey Feldman." Number 5. There's no doubt that Taylor Swift formed a cult-like following very early on in her career, which began in 2005 when she signed up for Big Machine Records. Swift soon became a multi-talented singer-songwriter and a worldwide superstar. She captivated her audience with her heartfelt songs and the catchy melodies that accompany them. Swift had shown a keen interest in music from an early age and progressed quickly from her role in children's theater to performing in front of thousands. This celebrity went on to win 14 Grammy Awards, a Primetime Emmy Award, and 40 American Music Awards, among many more. In 2009, the MTV Music Awards took place and Swift was awarded Best Female Video for her song "You Belong With Me." This ceremony, though, is infamous for a different reason. After receiving her award from her then-boyfriend, Taylor Lautner, the celebrity began her acceptance speech. During the speech, though, Swift was interrupted by Kanye West, who walked on stage and stopped her whole speech. He then told her that he was going to let her finish, but he just had one thing to say. And he claimed that Beyoncé had one of the best videos of all time, while Swift stood there absolutely humiliated. Later that evening, Beyoncé would win a more prestigious award, Music Video of the Year. She then invited Swift back on stage to finish her botched speech. This interruption ended up overshadowing everything else that had taken place that evening, including Madonna's tribute to the late Michael Jackson and Lady Gaga's paparazzi performance. But maybe that's the intention of the interruption. According to some theorists, this random rivalry was entirely fake, and it was all a setup. All publicity is good publicity. There are theorized reasons as to why it was faked in the first place, with the first hypothesis centering around the three characters involved. Some speculated that Beyonce, Swift, and West planned this interruption. After all, they did see a boost of infamy after the fact. Both West and Swift got a whole lot of press after the incident, and so did Beyonce after her good deed of bringing the singer back on stage. Some conspiracy theorists, though, took it to the next level, and this time it involved the Illuminati. This outlandish theory places the biggest star of 2009, Beyonce, as one of the leaders of the shadowy organization. She and her husband, Jay-Z, seem to be living on a different level of success and power. Beyonce is also known to flash a triangular hand symbol from time to time, which is known to be associated with the Eye of Providence, linked to the Illuminati. Theorists also pointed out that she's known to incorporate other symbols in her performance. One instance was at the 2017 Grammy Awards, where Beyonce was wearing a goddess-style outfit. This fueled rumors that she was a supreme leader of the Illuminati. But how does this tie in with the whole Taylor Swift-Kanye West incident? Well, to be inducted into the Illuminati, one must go through an initiation of sorts, and celebrities supposedly get the worst of it. In this case, the initiation was public humiliation. These public humiliation rituals are performed in an effort to emphasize the differences between social statuses. Passing the process of feeling shame and humiliation and accepting the loss of social status may bring the candidate into the organization. If the ritual was done towards Swift, who was 19 years old at the time, then she took the humiliation pretty well. Tears undoubtedly fell backstage, but in front of her vast audience, she held it all together. Swift was also due to perform her song later that evening, and that she did, after plastering her face and changing into a red dress. She effortlessly and without hesitation got through her performance. She wore the same red dress on stage again that same night. This time, it was when she was invited back on stage by Beyonce, who had just received her reward. Beyonce was also wearing a red dress, which added to this conspiracy. According to theorists, the fact that both of the celebrities are wearing red was no coincidence, and the colors hold some significance. It's said to be a hidden meaning of both power and influence. Swift's evening started with a sparkling silver dress, after which she made a switch to the vibrant red, and this is alleged to symbolize how she was knighted and brought into the Illuminati by one of the leaders after having passed her initiation. Number 4. Jay-Z quickly became one of the most influential figures in hip-hop in the 1990s. His life began in Brooklyn under the name Sean Carter. He had first-hand experience in the dealing of narcotics, which would later serve as inspiration behind his lyrics when he started his rapping career under the name Jazzy, which he later shortened to Jay-Z. He and two friends founded the company Rockefeller Records, and it didn't take long for the first album to be released, with millions of copies sold in the United States. A string of successful albums followed, and Jay-Z's career took flight. Despite being pretty straightforward with seemingly no hidden agendas, this rapper couldn't evade the conspiracy theories either. According to some, Jay-Z is a time traveler, a vampire, or a time-traveling vampire. This idea came after a picture popped up out of nowhere on the New York Public Library's Schomburg Center blog. The picture was taken in the 1930s and featured a few men gathering outside of a building. Seated on the railing and staring directly at photographer Sid Grossman was a figure that shares a striking resemblance to the rapper we see today. The unidentified man wore a flat cap, which cast a shadow over his face.
Yo, I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming. Listen. We've talked about time travel before. You think Jay-Z traveled in time, bro? He don't have like the typical face like you'd be like, oh, yo, I've seen that Joker's twin all over town. You know, some people have that face where he don't have that to me. To see that, oh man, y'all think that dude back then could rap? Holy, just look at that. I can't turn away from it. I can't turn away from it.
But that shadow didn't stop anyone from noticing the similarities. The Schomburg Center blog also added the caption, "Does the man on the right remind you of someone?" Perhaps it was his great-grandfather taking a break in Harlem in 1939. It didn't take long for both Reddit and BuzzFeed to catch on and post the picture on their platforms. And this sparked the time traveler conspiracy theory. Some fans speculate that Jay-Z's success and influence may be due to his ability to transcend time. This theory even took on a life of its own, with many maintaining that he had supernatural powers. Eventually, the continuation landed on the most accepted idea, which combined both aspects. Jay-Z is a time-traveling vampire. Some skeptics argued that it could have been a great-uncle or a great-grandfather, but the rapper seems to know who his family members are, and no one responded to the blog post asking if anyone knew who that person was. While most can see where the time-traveling part of this theory comes in, the vampire aspect doesn't make much sense. Skeptics pointed out that if he was a vampire, wouldn't he be rapping about it, since he raps about other controversial topics such as dealing narcotics? In turn, theorists point to the #1 rule of being a vampire, which is do not talk about being a vampire. While these mythical beings would most likely be accepted in today's society, there is always the fear of having a stake driven through the heart, which is a plausible explanation as to why Jay-Z never made a song about it. There's also another piece of evidence that theorists have cited for this proposition, and it relates to the rapper's age. Today, Jay-Z is 54 years old, but his appearance says otherwise. He's been in the music business for around 20 years, but he's remained mostly the same, an aspect that some have attributed to his vampirism. Further evidence for the whole non-aging hypothesis can also be found in some of his songs, including Forever Young, with the lyrics "You Never Get Old." Beyoncé has also been added to the mix because a vampire cannot coexist with a mere mortal. This means that she too must be a vampire. According to this belief, this vampire time-traveling couple does have an end goal, which is to create a kingdom. They already have a cult-like following and an extensive fan base, with Beyoncé's fans being referred to as the Bayhive. Hive is also used to refer to a vampire clan and their home, which is all led by a queen. And as we know, Beyoncé is also referred to as Queen Bee. Number 3. Robert Gaston Fuller used the stage name Robert Fuller as he entered the music scene in the 1960s. He was part of a band called the Bobby Fuller Four. The band signed with Delphi Records and rose to fame with their cover song, "I Fought the Law." Unfortunately, though, Bobby's career was short-lived due to his untimely passing. It was the 17th of July, 1966, when he left with his mother's Oldsmobile. The following morning, she discovered that her son had not returned. 14 hours later, at 5 p.m., the vehicle was back and left in an empty lot next to the apartment building. When his mother went to investigate, she found Bobby already in deep rigor mortis in the vehicle's front seat. On the seat next to him was a gas canister that was only 1/3 full with a hose attached, with the man covered in gasoline. The coroner determined that he succumbed to asphyxiation due to the inhalation of gasoline, but Bobby's passing would become one of the most enduring mysteries in the music industry. What added to the mystery was the coroner report, with one page listing the ordeal as an accident and another page littered with a question mark next to the word accident. It was discrepancies like these that would fuel many conspiracy theories relating to his passing. The first theory that began to circulate was purported by one of Bobby's bandmates, Jim Reese. He believed that Charles Manson may have played a role in the incident, despite having no evidence to support this theory. It's also noted that Manson was incarcerated from 1961 to 1967. But a crime website produced an alternate theory, linking a local mafia to the ordeal. This was due to a secret connection that Bobby had to a woman named Melody. Only the singer's mother and closest friends knew that these two were seeing each other, but no one had extensive knowledge of her. The only thing that came to light was that Melody had ties to the mafia. According to one article, this mysterious woman had a boyfriend who was in the mob, which is likely why she and Bobby kept their relationship a secret. Randy Fuller, Bobby's brother, recalled that he had plans to go to a party with Melody on the night prior to his passing. According to him, Melody would be driving Bobby to the party, where they would meet some big-time people. What happened at that party, though, is unknown. But after the fatal incident, rumors abound about mafia involvement and cover-up conspiracies. Bob Keane, the producer who signed the band to Delphi Records, believed that a fight broke out, possibly an accident that could have involved other celebrities, in which case that cover-up conspiracy would come into play. No one could explain why Bobby had been doused with gasoline, or how the vehicle made its way back to the apartment. Melody would later deny being involved with anyone with ties to the mafia, and that she had any knowledge of this alleged party that they would be attending. Others pointed their finger at Keene, who worked with Valens and Sam Cooke, who had met strange endings, although no evidence was found to support this theory. Another hypothesis is that an unidentified person had called him in the middle of the night, claiming to have run out of gas. They then took his life and returned him to the apartment, which would explain why there was a gas canister in the vehicle in the first place. It was also found that Bobby had an insurance policy of $800,000, which was paid out to the Delphi Records financier Larry Nunes, the company's silent partner. And this is why some believe that the record company had something to do with it. One supporting piece of evidence for this theory is that the insurance wouldn't pay out if the passing was not accidental, hence the reclassification on the coroner report. It remains speculation that Nunes has ties to the mafia, but it was confirmed that there was in fact an insurance policy in place, with the money being paid out directly to him. Theorists point to motives such as the recent singles flop, Bobby opting to bail on the tour, and the rumors that he was planning on going solo.
Listen, that does all sound like mob activity to me, bro. The way he was found, the whole coroner report altered, like everything about that to me sounds like mob activity, bro. I know you can't help who you love, but you find out you messing with a woman who could possibly, I don't even care if you know or not, but there's potentially a chance that she has ties to the mafia. You gotta let her go, bro. This no outcome is gonna end good for you. It's not. You gotta let her go. You gotta let her go.
Number 2. Morgan Freeman made his way onto Broadway in 1967, which kickstarted his acting career. He would then work on stage and appear in the children's show The Electric Company as Easy Reader. Freeman then began acting in more challenging films, such as Street Smart, which earned him his first ever Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. He was then nominated for an Oscar as the Best Actor for his appearance in Driving Miss Daisy. He's known for his subtle humor, emotional depth, and versatility, which made him one of the most revered performers of his generation. One aspect of his life, though, seemed to evade his biography. He is Jimi Hendrix. Hendrix was an American guitarist and songwriter who brought us songs like Purple Haze and Voodoo Child. On the 11th of September 1970, he gave his final interview in London with Record Mirror. At the time, he was already suffering from poor health due to influenza and exhaustion. 2 weeks after his show with The Experience, Hendrix was found deceased in his girlfriend's apartment. He succumbed to asphyxiation while intoxicated with barbiturates. While there are many conspiracy theories in circulation regarding this revered musician's passing, one of them states that he never really met his end in the first place. This is where Morgan Freeman comes in. Some fans believe that Jimi Hendrix reinvented himself as the actor after supposedly faking his passing. This bizarre hypothesis only works when comparing their early lives. Theorists point out that Freeman's career only truly kicked off in the early 70s, around the time of Hendrix's passing. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence, though, is the resemblance that these two men share. Analyzed photographs pinpoint the similarities in facial structure, particularly in the cheekbones and jawline. They also both have a very distinctive gap between their front teeth. The gap is a rare occurrence, which is a critical point when determining similarities. The two also share comparable voices. The musician was known to have a very distinct and smooth-speaking voice, resembling Freeman's deep and iconic tone. They also share a calm demeanor and eloquent speech pattern. Freeman and Hendrix are well-accomplished men in their respective fields. The musician was regarded as one of the greatest guitarists, and the actor was one of the most powerful performers in the film industry. It's also not uncommon for musicians to transition into acting roles. The hypothesis puts forth that Hendrix did just that. He abandoned his music career and reinvented himself to find a new creative outlet as Morgan Freeman. Number 1. At the age of 5, Brittany Murphy approached the table where Burt Reynolds and George Segal were seated. She told them that one day she too would be a star, and that she was. Brittany came from a line of international musicians and performers, and it was only expected that she would follow suit. Her big screen movie debut began in 1995 in the film Clueless. She garnered attention for her role in Girl, Interrupted, with Angelina Jolie. She also formed a band called Blessed Soul, from which she became the lead singer. Her vocal talents hit TV screens as the voice of Luann in King of the Hill. But stardom didn't come without darkness. It was alleged that she'd been a witness in the case of whistleblower Julia Davis, a former Department of Homeland Security employee. Davis would then allege that Brittany and her husband, Simon Monjack, were targeted for retaliation. This retaliation included land and aerial surveillance with the addition of threatened prosecution. Simon was subsequently arrested. The couple would later confide in Hollywood reporter Alex Ben Block, stating that they were under surveillance by helicopter and that their telephones had been wiretapped. It wasn't long after this that Brittany would be found deceased. Her passing was attributed to pneumonia and anemia by the Los Angeles County coroner, and the case was closed within the hour. Just 5 months later, though, Simon was found deceased, with the cause being the same as his late wife's. Again, the case was closed, but neither of the victims were ever given autopsies in search of possible poisoning or other causes. This is where the conspiracy theories began. Sparking life into the theories was Brittany's father, Angelo Bertolotti. He pursued an investigation behind the sudden demise of his daughter and her husband. He believed that they were both the victims of homicide. In 2013, Bertolotti found himself on Good Morning America, where he told the public that he believed his daughter was intentionally poisoned. A lab report that he commissioned showed the presence of heavy metals in Brittany's system upon her passing. This came from a hair strand sample that found 10 heavy metals above the recommended levels, according to the World Health Organization. But homicide wasn't the only theory at play here. Another rumor attributed both passings to toxic mold. The fact that both victims became ill and passed away in the same home led many to believe that the mansion was full of black mold, which can cause pneumonia. Sharon Murphy shared a bed with Simon following his wife's passing, and she denied the mold theory, claiming that it wasn't mentioned or even thought of by the health department. Conflictingly, in the 2-part docuseries called What Happened to Brittany Murphy, Sharon did suspect that there was mold in the home and had even discovered it inside the walls.